Hi everybody, so welcome back to A Moment with Marta. Today I just wanted to share my personal journey with autism. So my son was born in 2009 and he was a really big baby, 10 pounds, 1 ounce. Yeah, really big. He was delayed in all of his gross motor skills in babbling and talking, didn't make a whole lot of eye contact, those kinds of things. He did his, what we called at the time, crazy hands. It was really cute. He would just do this all the time around his face. We didn't, know at the time what that was. We just thought it was really cute, something that he did. It was about the time that he was 12 months old that we started to suspect that he had autism. He would just scream and cry and be really upset for, at the time, what we perceived to be no apparent reason. Now we know a lot more, and looking back, realize that he was struggling with some sensory overload in those moments. He was diagnosed as moderate to severe on the autism spectrum with speech impairment around 2.5 years old. My daughter was born around the time my son was 2, and she was just struggling so bad with acid reflux. My son struggled with it. I thought his was bad, but it was nothing compared to my daughter. My daughter, poor thing, was just in pain and so miserable for the first 9 months of her life. She just cried. So here we have a 2-year-old who, is on the spectrum and is having sensory overload. We have a newborn who is in a lot of pain and waking up around the same amount of time that she, typically would. My son at the same time was waking up literally every 45 minutes. Honestly, there are times where I think, how did we even make it through that time? My husband and I don't have any family here in the area. At the time, a lot of the friendships that we did have kind of drifted away. We didn't really have a whole lot of support from, the community or church or the friends that we did have at the time. So it was kind of just the two of us. Praise the Lord, we've got a really good, strong marriage, and we just tried to give each other breaks and help each other out as much as we possibly could. My daughter, she had kind of more of some of the classic signs of autism. She didn't really speak really much at all, not even babbling. She lined things up and sorted things. But she is high functioning on the autism spectrum. So she really, once she was about 3 and was able to be in the PPCD and pre-K program, she just, she grew and learned a lot. So we had 2 kiddos on the spectrum, and we're not getting any sleep. And I ended up, after my daughter was born, I ended up having postpartum depression. And, I didn't have it with my son. It was unexpected. It's not something that we were accounting for. So it was kind of a crazy time in our life. So I know what it's like to feel broken, to feel deflated, to feel defeated, to feel burnt out. But as my kids have grown and gotten older each year, they have just taught me so much about myself, in fact, that I just started seeing so much of myself in them, and became very reflective about my own childhood, and started to realize that I too am on the spectrum. I'm high functioning. I would be, if they still recognized the Asperger's diagnosis, that DM5, whatever it is, that's what I would be. I did some testing, and I've had some confirmation that I'm high functioning on the spectrum myself. And throughout all of it, it's been a journey. There's certainly been some ups and downs. The amazing thing is that because I think differently, because my kiddos think differently, They have just taught me so much about life. My son just really takes pleasure in simple things. He loves to be silly, and he really notices those small, minute details that most people would just kind of pass by. He's helped me to not take things in life for granted. My daughter has this insatiable hunger for learning and for knowledge, and she's been obsessed with dinosaurs since age 3. A lot of times people that are on the high functioning end of the spectrum, they'll have maybe a certain subject that they just really are interested in, and for my daughter it's dinosaurs. And I've learned a lot about dinosaurs with her, and her passion for learning is really truly inspiring. I have learned so much from her and with her, and have been inspired to continue learning myself. So while we've had lots of different obstacles and challenges, it's also, there's just amazing rewards that go with raising kiddos on the autism spectrum. And it's been incredibly liberating to understand more about myself. I know what it's like to feel invisible. I know what it's like to feel on the outside looking in. I know what it's like to have sensory issues, to have anxiety, and your gut so twisted and knotted up because of anxiety that you just get overwhelmed by a question or having to make a choice of some kind. So I get it from being on the spectrum and for raising kiddos on the spectrum. And my hope is that through doing these videos, that it helps inspire individuals on the spectrum as well as families living with autism, that you're not alone, because sometimes it's so easy to feel isolated. You're not alone. And I have felt this calling on my heart from God to advocate for families living with autism, for individuals on the spectrum, to help families, to unite them, to help them not feel alone. Because I know what that's like. I know all the feelings that go along with feeling like you're not quite a part of the group, where you're on the outside looking in, where you feel exhausted and defeated and deflated and lonely and isolated. I know what that's like. And you're not alone. Even if it's, I'm your friend, I just want to encourage you and lift you up and be in prayer over you. It's not hopeless. You're not alone. You're not isolated. And there are others out there that do understand those feelings, and it's okay. It's natural to feel all of those things, whether it's feeling burnt out because you're just so tired. I get that. Waking up every 45 minutes, I think it was only by the grace of God that I made it through that time. It's okay to feel those things, parents and individuals struggling with those sensory overload, the anxiety, the depression that goes along with all of that. It's okay to feel those things. Just feel it, get those emotions out, pick yourself up, and be the warrior that you are, because you're much stronger than you know. And God made you special, and He loves you, and this world really does take all kinds of minds, and you are beautiful. And I hope that my videos will uplift you and encourage you, and for those in the community, just to help educate you on what it's like to live with autism, whether it's being an individual on the spectrum, or raising a child, or being a caregiver to a child on the spectrum. Until next time, with a moment with Marta.